What if I told you that the future of space exploration wasn't brave astronauts shining cities or humanity reaching for the stars, but instead a bunch of corporations arguing over profit margins while people literally starve to death next to vending machines? Welcome to The Outer Worlds, a game where capitalism doesn't just win, it colonized space, slapped a logo on it, and charged everyone rent. Today we're breaking down the full story of The Outer Worlds from the moment you wake up, frozen in space, all the way to the deciding fate of the entire star system. This is a tale of corporate greed, bad decisions, talking guns, and one scientist who absolutely should not be trusted with your life. So grab your spacer's choice weapon, because it's not the best choice, it's a spacer's choice. And let's talk about how everything in Halcyon went horrendously wrong. Before we start shooting marauders, we need context. The game takes place in the Halcyon colony, a star system owned entirely by corporations, not governments, not nations, corporations. Every planet, city, job, and even human life is considered company property. People don't retire, they're decommissioned. If you die on the job, you're fined for loss of productivity. And the people running this nightmare, a group called the Board, executives who think morality is a line, item, and starvation builds character. Now into this capitalist paradise arrives one ship that will absolutely ruin everything, the Hope. Decades before the game begins, Earth sends two colony ships to Halcyon, the Groundkeeper, which arrives safely, and the Hope, which doesn't. The Hope suffers a malfunction and is lost in space for 70 years, carrying thousands of frozen colonists who are supposed to be the future colony. Instead, the corporations decide, we've got enough workers, so they just forget about it. This turns out to be a problem later, a very big problem, a you problem. You begin the game frozen aboard the Hope when a man named Dr. Phineas Welles breaks you out of hypersleep. Phineas is a rogue scientist wanted by the Board, completely unhinged, and somehow your best choice at survival. He tells you the truth: Halcyon is dying. Crops are failing, people are starving, the colony is slowly collapsing under corporate mismanagement. Phineas believes the only way to save everyone is to revive the rest of the Hope's colonists, scientists, engineers, and thinkers who can actually fix things. Problem is, the Board really doesn't want that to happen. And congratulations, you are now public enemy number one. Phineas launches you toward the colony in your ship, the Unreliable, and immediately loses contact because frankly this man should not be allowed near any machinery. You crash land on Terra 2, the main planet of Halcyon, near a settlement called Edgewater. Before you can even stand up, the game makes one thing very clear: this place is messed up. Edgewater is corporate hell with plumbing. Edgewater is a company town run by Spacer's Choice, and it looks exactly how you'd expect. Workers are overworked, everyone eats canned salt tuna that's slowly poisoning them, and the town's biggest concern isn't starvation, it's productivity. The man in charge is Reed Thompson, a corporate loyalist who truly believes that if people just worked harder, everything would be fine. People are sick, people are dying, and Reed's response is basically, if you try smiling while working, Edgewater has a power problem. Nearby is an abandoned botanical lab run by a group of deserters led by Adeline, who left Edgewater after the company forced her to bury her son in an unmarked grave. Yeah, this game does not mess around. You're given a choice: divert power back to Edgewater, saving the town but crushing the deserters, or power the botanical lab, letting Edgewater slowly die. There is no perfect answer. Saving Edgewater means keeping a broken system alive. Saving the deserter means letting loyal workers suffer for corporate mistakes. This decision sets the tone for the entire game. No clean victories, only consequences. The theme hits hard. Right here, early on, The Outer Worlds tells you exactly what kind of story it is. This isn't about good versus evil. It's about systems that exploit people, leaders who choose profit over humanity, and whether change is possible without burning everything down. And you're just getting started. With Edgewater's fate decided, you repair your ship, recruit your first companions, and officially enter the large conflict tearing Halcyon apart. You're wanted by the Board, trusted by a mad scientist, and holding the future of the colony in your hands. And next, we're heading to Monarch, where there's corporations that lost control completely, and things somehow get worse. With Edgewater behind you, you finally gain access to your ship, the Unreliable, and yes, that name is not a joke. This ship is barely held together, constantly malfunctioning, and is piloted by Ada, an AI whose personality sits somewhere between helpful assistant and passive-aggressive toaster. Phineas contacts you again and explains the next step of his plan. You need a special chemical compound called DMSI to safely revive the rest of the Hope's colonists. That compound exists, but of course it's controlled by the corporation, so naturally your next step is planet where corporations lost control entirely. Welcome to Monarch. The Board originally tried to colonize this planet, but the wildlife was so aggressive and the situation was so chaotic that eventually they just said this place is unprofitable, abandon it, which corporations speak for everyone here is expendable. The people who stay behind form their own factions and none of them get along. Your main hub on Monarch is Stellar Bay, run by Sanjar Nadi of the MSI faction. Sanjar is one of the few leaders in Halcyon who actually cares about people, wants stability, and understands compromise. His goal is simple: get MSI organized by the board so Monarch can rejoin the system and stop being slowly eaten alive by monsters and anarchy. Unfortunately, he's not the only one with ideas. On the other side of Monarch are the Iconoclasts, led by Graham Brandt. Graham believes corporations are evil, the board must be destroyed, and the system needs radical change. Which sounds great until you realize he has no long-term plan, no logistics, and habit of getting people killed for the cause. Later leadership shifts to Zora Blackwood, who is far more practical and far less interested in dying for symbols, and once again, the game puts you in the middle, peace or chaos. You can side with MSI, side with the Iconoclast, or do something rare. By exposing Graham's failures and supporting Zora, you can unite the factions and give Monarch a real future. It's one of the few times in the game where cooperation actually works and it feels earned. While all this is happening, you recruit companions, and they're one of the Outer World's biggest strengths. Pavardi, an engineer with anxiety, a big heart, and one of the most wholesome romance quests in gaming. Victor Max, a self-loathing philosopher priest on a quest for meaning. Felix, a working-class rebel who really hates the board. Nyoka, the hunter coping with trauma and survivor's guilt. Sam, a cleaning robot whose solution to every problem is industrial strength acid. Each companion has personal quests that reinforce the game's themes. People struggling to survive in a system that never cared about them. As you grow stronger, the board takes notice. They brand you an outlaw and assign Sophia of the board to deal with you. Sophia isn't cartoonishly evil. She's calm, rational, and terrifying because she truly believes that sacrificing millions is acceptable if it maintains order. In her mind, the colony doesn't need saving, it needs control. Eventually, you reach Byzantium, the capital of Halcyon. This is where the elite live. Perfect streets, clean air, endless luxury, and it's all built on the suffering of everyone else. While workers starve, they throw parties. While colonies collapse, the board debates brand image. This place is a lie made of marble and gold. Here you learn the horrifying truth. The colony's food problem isn't just mismanaged, it's biological failure. Crops are breaking down at the molecular level. The board's solution? Freeze most of the population. Indefinitely. Just let them freeze. Not save them, not fix this system. Just pause the problem and let the elite live comfortably forever. This is what they call stability. Phineas' plan is the opposite. He wants to revive the hopes colonists, scientists, thinkers, and innovators to rebuild Halcyon properly. But there's a catch. Early revival attempts killed people. Phineas knows this, and he still believes the risk is worth it. This is the moment the game asks you, how much failure is acceptable if the alternative is extinction? At this point, the game gives you a final choice. Side with Phineas, overthrow the board, and rebuild Halcyon, or side with the board, preserve order, and sacrifice the future. There is no secret third option. You must choose. No matter your choice, the endgame centers on the hope. If you side with Phineas, you hijack the colony ship and bring it back into Halcyon space. If you side with the board, you secure it as a controlled resource. Either way, the fate of thousands rests on what happens next. The final mission pushes all themes to the limit. Order versus freedom, safety versus progress, control versus hope. Companions comment on your choices, factions react to your actions. The colony feels like it's holding its breath. The ending plays out as a narrative epilogue showing the long-term effects of your decisions. Monarch can thrive or collapse. Companions can find peace or remain broken. Halcyon can slowly recover or stagnate forever. There is no perfect ending, but there is an honest one. At its core, the Outer Worlds isn't just satire, it's a warning, it's asked. What happens when profit replaces humanity? What happens when systems become more important than people? And can flawed individuals still create meaningful change? You're not a chosen one, you're not a hero of destiny, you're just someone who showed up and refused to accept that this is what the best options could be. And that is the Outer Worlds, a funny, angry, thoughtful RPG that hides its most serious questions behind corporate slogans and talking robots. If you enjoyed this breakdown, leave a like, subscribe for more in-depth dives into gaming stories, and let me know what game I should cover next. Because remember, it's not the best choice, it's a spacer's choice. Thank you for watching.
What was that? Impressive.